So it's broken this evening, of course, hasn't it? This idea that it might be time to pay illegal Channel migrants to self-deport. Now, back in May, President Trump's government rolled out its voluntary return scheme. $1,000 in cash plus a free ticket home for those who came to America illegally. It's not a bribe, it's psychology. Deportations cost $17,000 each. Self-deportation costs a fraction of that. And it's working. Illegal crossings are down, arrests are down, and people are taking the deal. But we, in the UK, we've been running assisted returns for nearly 20 years, up to £3,000 plus flights, but hardly anyone knows about it. Why? Because we keep it hidden, like it's something to be ashamed of. And I know it is infuriating. But surely it is better than spending billions on housing migrants in hotels. I don't think that when a child sex offender like Harish Kebatu is mistakenly released, he should get a £500 bonus to get on the plane. But it worked, and he's gone. And here in America, cash for exit is policy. In Britain, we make panic payoffs only when the system has failed. Here's the uncomfortable truth. It costs far more to keep migrants here in the UK than it does to send them home with a bit of cash in their pocket. And I know this shouldn't be there at all, but we have to swallow the bitter pill now, or Britain will be forever paying hotel bills. Just listen to what President Trump had to say about Britain on this.
They're putting people in luxury hotels, and other people that are working their asses off are living, from hand to mouth. They're not living the same way. I mean, I looked at some of the hotels they're using, and they've done it in our country also. They put them in like the best hotels anywhere in the world. That's no good.
The scheme here in the UK is so narrow that it barely scratches the surface. It only covers asylum seekers who've been refused leave to remain, victims of trafficking, care leavers and rough sleepers. The UK scheme only covers asylum seekers who've been refused, victims of trafficking, care leavers and rough sleepers. But the obvious group, the dinghy migrants, arriving illegally every single day. They are not included. Why? Well, America first means paying illegal migrants to leave. Britain last means paying them to stay. Britain, surely one-way tickets are cheaper than one-way decline. We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. Whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponize against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Let's get the take of the leader of Reform UK in the London Assembly, Alex Wilson. Alex, good evening. There's a lot to get our heads around here because the systems are similar but also different. But the principle itself as to whether people should be incentivised with a back pocket, with a bit of cash in it to go away, is it good or bad?
Good evening, Bev. It's great to be with you this evening. You've made quite a powerful case there for a scheme under which you could pay people voluntarily to leave. If it's working in America, you argue why couldn't it work here? And yes, you're right to highlight the staggering cost of accommodation in hotels, in HMOs, and perhaps in military bases if the government's now looking to do that instead. All of that is a huge cost. And yes, the cost of a one-way ticket to wherever these people should be going back to is less than that. And there's an argument for doing that. But what there isn't an argument for doing in the case of, as we've seen today, which is the case that has kind of triggered the media interest in this, Hadesh Kabatu bunged £500 to leave the country because he threatened to kick up a fuss, he threatened to claim asylum, to disrupt the flight, and all those kind of things as a way. So this money was paid as a way of basically silencing him, and really it's a kick in the teeth to the taxpayer. All of this is a kick in the teeth for the taxpayer who has to pick up the bill one way or the other. And we have to ask ourselves, actually, why is any of this necessary in the first place? If people have entered the country illegally, we should be able to deport them, remove them, without them threatening to cause any further disruption. We should be able to just get on with it and get them out. But we can't do that because we've signed up to these international obligations, the ECHR, Refugee Convention, and also because of our own rank stupidity as a country. We fund these legal challenges that these people will challenge against our own government. It's insane. That's why we have to have this as an option. But fundamentally, what we need to do is stop the boats in the first place and get people out when they're here and they shouldn't be here.
Yeah, Alex, let me bring in my panel as well here to get an American perspective on this. We've got Greg Swenson, Chair of Republicans Overseas UK, very familiar face to GB News, and Rebecca Zelko, DC reporter for Blaze News, who is becoming a more familiar face to GB News. Greg, you know both sides of this story very well. Why does it work here in America? Because some of these amounts that these migrants are being given, they're small amounts, like 500 quid. Yes, it's a lot of money in the UK, but actually to get rid of the bloke, we'd spend tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands putting him in prison. It's a small amount to pay, isn't it? And here in the UK, it is working. In the US, sorry. Yeah,
it is working, and I think that you have to have the will to do it. And I don't think the Labour government wants the migrants to leave, right? And I think the Tories before them, maybe they didn't want the migrants to accumulate, but they sure didn't do much about keeping the boats from arriving. And so look, I think you have to have the will. It was only a year ago that we were waving in, 2 million illegal migrants a year, and there was no effort by the Democrats, by the Biden administration, to deport any, unlike the Obama administration, Barack Obama was happy to deport as many illegal migrants as possible, and so is Trump. So where there's a will, there's a way. I don't think there's a will in the UK right now. Yeah, Rebecca, that's such a good point, that as soon as an administration came into America that wanted to fix the problem, they could fix the problem. They weren't just handing out a few $100s here and there. They actually just completely solved this issue, haven't they? How do you feel about the principle, though, of paying migrants, illegal migrants, to go home?
I mean, as you pointed out, the difference was totally night and day, but as far as, and really all it took was a new president, but as far as actually the incentive structure, I don't necessarily disagree, because at the end of the day, if there's going to be a cheaper, more effective way to deport people who weren't supposed to be here to begin with, I'm kind of in favor of that. If there's always going to be some sort of resources required to actually address the problem, and if there is a simple, efficient, and voluntary way for that to happen, we've seen now, I think it's been about 2 million migrants who came to this country illegally self-deport. I'm pretty much in favor of that. And if it actually helps cut off the cost, sort of nip it in the bud, as we say, then I'm in favor of something like that, since it'll save us so much more in the long run. Alex, it's a very difficult issue, though, for some reason, for the British public, and I get it. When I say for some reason, I think it's really obvious why we don't want our taxpayers' money just to pay them. It just feels so wrong. It just feels so unfair that we're, in a sense, rewarding illegal behaviour. But if it works, do we just have to get on with it and just do it? But there's a long way to go, and the sad thing about there being a long way to go,
time-wise, is that things in this country will probably get an awful lot worse, and we'll see Rachel Reeves' budget in a couple of weeks' time. The economy is in free fall. It's going to get an awful lot worse for the country before we have that opportunity to turn it around. But turn it around is exactly what we're planning to do, what we're building the party to do. If we win that election, there will be real change, there will be real reform and real hope for the future.
OK, all right. Lovely to see you, Alex. Thank you so much. Leader of Reform UK at the London Assembly, Alex Wilson there. My panel will be staying with me for the rest of the evening. And I'm particularly interested, Rebecca, in your take as an American on some of the stories I know you're American too, Greg, but you're like an honorary Brit, aren't you? Because we spend a lot of time with you in London. But I do love it when our American guests, and some of the things we talk about here, the Americans just sit there with their heads in their hands going, I don't know how you're all surviving over there. Let us know how you are surviving. GVnews.com/your say. Still to come tonight, though, on The Late Show Live.